Hey guys, welcome back to another voiceover. My name is Sakimi-chan, and for this term's voiceover, I'm going to be painting something a little bit Halloweeny. So I've always had this idea of your butt in her like assassin outfit, but it would be red. I had this concept earlier, but I've never actually really executed until now because it's Halloween and I thought it would be a cool idea. And she would kind of look kind of vampy with this color scheme, so that is the concept for this pinup. So as you can see, I've already lined it. I've already filled in different parts of the lines, and I've started a rough shadow. I think I can show you guys the speed process. So I got the sketch going, and then after I kind of worked on the sketch, probably like 3 passes, then I added the line art like that, and then I filled it in with a base color, and then last but not least added a bit of a rough shadow to it. Alright, so now we're here with the shadow. This is purely just to add some base to work from. This shadow doesn't actually lock me into any type of commitment or anything like that, but it does act as a nice base. And I roughly have an idea of the type of lighting I'm trying to aim for. The idea is to make the lighting interesting and sort of ethereal in a way, like in a spooky way. So that is the vibe that I'm trying to go for. Hopefully I can kind of achieve that somehow. So I think I'm gonna have this whole side be lightened or in highlight, and then we're gonna have shadow on this side. So good thing I have the shadow on a separate layer because you can play around with this quite a bit before you start kind of locking in on the light source. Let's see, what if I make this whole part of the arm in shadow, and then let's try test out. Let's see if what would happen if all of this like in shadow. Well, looks like it needs at least a little bit of highlight. Otherwise, it doesn't really quite make too much sense. At least it doesn't look. It doesn't fit the vibe that I want to go for. Maybe just a little bit of highlight. Let's go for this. So this is going to be a rough shadow. I'm going to lock it in, airbrush, and then let's go ahead and add some gradient in the shadow layer. So I'm going for a vampy theme. So let's add some cool tones inside the shadow. Her skin, I'm going to make her skin pretty fair. But I also would like to have some sort of high contrast. Maybe something like that, and we can zoom out. So this is a rough idea for what the shadow could look like. But I'm gonna have to keep in mind, make sure the face has certain parts of the face, I mean, will be having a high exposure or just a very intense lighting hitting on that part of the face. So I'm gonna try to play around with that idea. So this is what we have with the rough shadow, and I'm already kind of liking where it's going. But before that, let's go ahead and flatten image. Actually, before that, I just want to flatten image so I can copy a version of this without the shading. Okay, plot back on the shadow. Let's add some rough shadow to the hair. Although this is, I'm doing it pretty roughly. This is almost as if I'm treating this so nonchalantly. It's not very clean. I guess this should do. I want to add some drop down shadow from the hair, flopping in the wind, and the shadow from the hair onto her shoulder and dress and whatnot. I also would like to, I guess before I merge the shadow down, I'm going to try to add some of that tight effect from the dress onto her skin. So let's see if we can paint that in somehow. I'm gonna get some nice shadow right underneath her cleavage, cutting onto that dress. And the dress is quite tight, so it's going to be sticking to that anatomy. Let's go back to this color. I might experiment with the dress here to see what kind of shading I like better. There's a few ways I could shade this part, but I want to make sure it feels tightly wrapped around her and also still feel like a proper dress. And then we're going to sort of align this part in a way to again highlight the anatomy as best as we can, adding some shading along that area just to contour her belly and then her crotch area. There's that type of like curvature. And I like to emphasize those landmarks in particular when it comes to painting female figures. But you know, there's lots of variation in anatomy, and this is just the one that I like to accentuate the areas, I mean. Let's go ahead and add a bit more shadow in that area, and then lighten in this area, kind of like rim light in the shadow, and we are still on the shadow layer. Let's go ahead and pretty much do the same thing as we did to the dress on her chest to her legs. So I want to paint in a way to emphasize that squish. From her thigh being squished in by this red. I think I will be making her boot like latex texture. So her thigh being squished in by hot thigh high latex red boots somehow. And honestly, this phase you could spend as much time as you want or as little time as you want. Sometimes, I just do a pretty rough job. Sometimes I spend a bit more time on this phase, the phase of just kind of roughing the shadow with the multiply layer. So this part is the drape behind her, and I did go for like a opposite color scheme compared to her original, which is black and red. And the red is usually on the inside, but this time I'm having the black color on the inside instead. And the red will now be the outside fabric and also the main color scheme. And honestly, I'm glad that it actually goes pretty well with her. Since this doesn't always work out that well, like recoloring, I mean. But she is the assassin, so red pretty much fits her. Okay, let's add a bit of shadow right here and then carve out slowly her tendon. I've been into painting the neck tendons lately. I like making them elegant looking. Or actually clavicles. Yeah. Clavicle is a better word for this area. Let's go ahead and ensure this part of the arm catching some nice lighting. Strong lighting, that is. Let's go to this part of her face now and her finger. I guess I should probably zoom in for this. Usually I like to do the face after I've applied the rough shadow to all the layers, but you could also do it in the rough shadow phase if you want. It is, whatever you guys are more comfortable with. Like, usually if you can just spend a bit of time every day just to practice and experiment with the program, you guys will naturally kind of pick up what you're more comfortable with, and this is what I'm more comfortable with. But yeah, this part, exploring your favorite technique definitely takes just some time messing around with the program and stuff. Let's add some drop down shadow from the hair on her cheek. So her face is looking kind of flat, but yeah, that's to be expected because I don't want to really go in too hard on the shading for her face just yet. I do have a general idea of what I want to do for it, so I would like part of her face still to have some intense um, highlight to it. So now it's just kind of trying to find the most attractive light lighting technique. And this phase takes sometimes can take a little while just to find that. I I mean I have a specific preference, so it's a little challenging, especially with more dynamic color. I mean shading concept like this, and not just like a straightforward lighting. This has a bit of difference. I mean, a bit more complex face shading. Let's see what if I'm testing out slightly different concepts for the shading. What if this side is just dark and the other side is mostly lit up in terms of the contrast? Maybe. Ah, I guess I should probably make this part a little bit lighter, maybe. Let's do like this. Hopefully her neck doesn't look overly long. Because when I was doing the line art, her neck was looking pretty long, and I was thinking maybe I can kind of try to hide it when I shade it, you know? Sometimes you can hide weird anatomy with the shading. Actually, yeah, I think we should go with that. This is my second layer of shadow, and I just wanna see if I can accentuate certain area with the shadow so that the eye is drawn to the opposite side of the shadow, which is the highlight. So if I just add the shadow to her leg and really frame the highlight, like for example on top of this leg and around her hips, that would make the image have a bit more contrast slash form, or just appear a bit more 3D in general. Really depends on what look you're going for. Sadly, I am too used to just over rendering, so this is kind of like a little bit not as rendered as what I used to do, which is mostly on Photoshop, but this is slightly less render, but at the same time it's still kind of I know my standard for rendering is quite a bit high. I'm used to over rendering, so this is me trying to not over render as much, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. So this is my second layer of shadow, which is cool shadow. I mean, you can always play around with it if you want to by um, editing the color and whatnot. You know, it's always fun to just test it out. You might like what you find by messing around with these settings. Same with this. Let me go into tone and color balance, which is the same as color balancing Photoshop. And I can mess about, see, see what the different effects I can get by just playing around with the colors of the shadow itself. I mean, I'm leaning more towards like a redder undertone, but that's what I'm used to. I'm just attracted to this color scheme. You might like another color scheme, but yeah, I think we're gonna roll with this. Let's go ahead and save, and then we're going to just constrain this copy and basically apply it to all my layers. So we're gonna manually do this. Paste, merge down, paste again, merge down, paste, merge down, and then last but not least, paste and merge down onto the skin. And there you have it. We have a rough lighting slash shadow established onto each of our layers. So now you just go into each of the layers and kind of render it out. And you can basically, well, I usually do this a few times. If I'm not happy with the level of render, I just keep doing it until I'm satisfied. And sometimes, you know, you want to move things around and that could get complicated. But luckily with this program, we can use the Liquify tool, and that does basic movements of the layers that you have selected. It lags a little bit, but it's way better than Photoshop. At least, I guess I haven't been using the new Photoshop, so I can't really say if they have a better tool. But yeah, this program has the Liquify tool, which is pretty cool. But we are going to see what we can start with. Oh yeah, if you zoom in, you can kind of tell like there's a lot of little pockets that hasn't been filled in properly, and that is due to the fact that when I filled in the colors, it was done automatically. So, you know, this program doesn't actually fill it in, filling all the gaps sometimes. But that's fine. We can go ahead and correct it little by little. For some reason, I want to go into the hair and kind of add some rough highlight, and that highlight I'm leaning more towards like a warmer color. So I'm going to just quickly add some highlight in here. Let's go ahead and add a little bit here too. And then towards the shadow, let's go ahead and use a cool tone for the highlight. Actually, I might even use some red, because what I had in mind for this concept was that she was gonna be kind of surrounded by like blood splatters or something similar. But that might change later. You know, the initial idea doesn't always get executed the way I hope for it, so it's always kind of if I like the idea or not. When you start rendering out an idea, sometimes it doesn't always live up to what you imagine it to be, and oftentimes I would change those ideas. So I'm going to brighten up brighten this area, or at least add a bit more contrast. Add some more contrast to really frame the highlight line. I'm just going to use like any brush that I can get my hands on right now, just to establish that strong highlight boundary. Okay, let's go to her bodysuit. Let's establish some strong highlights. Actually, let me create a new layer constraint down. And for her bodysuit, let's go with maybe like this red. Let's see if I can really really emphasize certain area for highlight. And then how would it look if I made it latexy? So let's add some slight shine to some of these areas. Probably need to up the brightness. Let's go for like a white almost. I mean, if I make it this color, definitely feels a lot more shinier. And now the problem is just figuring out the right positioning for this highlight, because that is not the placement. That placement does not look the best, I mean. We have to figure it out. I'm looking at the small preview and that is not looking very good. Maybe like here? Let's add some more contrast into some of these areas. Let's rendering out a little bit more on the rest of this suit. But overall, we're going to just try to contour the anatomy the best that I can, and then add the shiny. Add some shiny parts here, but not too much. I have to kind of play around with the where to place these strong highlights in order to make this outfit look the way I want it to. And I don't have a reference or anything, so I have to really like play around with these type of highlights. But I do have a general concept of how latex works, so yeah. Actually, it's getting there. It just I just need a bit more time to play around with this. And sometimes this phase lasts quite a bit because, you know, you don't always nail it the first time or even the second or third time. And if you don't have, if this is your first time painting this type of outfit or slash texture, then don't do what I'm doing, which is just painting from memory. Definitely get a reference. Oh, I'm kind of liking it actually. Okay, and we can do a little before and after just to see the progress. That really helps. That helps motivate me because, you know, I'm happy that the progress I'm making is actually improving the piece and not making it look worse. And sometimes it actually end up looking worse, so I end up going back to what I had before and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and work on her glove now. I wonder if I should keep this piece like rough like this. Might be an interesting change because usually my stuff is a lot more rendered, but maybe I can keep this rougher. Let's go to the legging now. Alright, let's go ahead and do the shine. Blend it out. And we are going to have, let's see, a rim light inside here. Going all the way down. And then I'm gonna smooth it out. And I want to emphasize on some of the details, especially contouring her knee. So I'm kind of trying to paint with that in mind, her knee. And I have painted a lot of knees in boots, so I have a rough idea of how that part is supposed to look. But, you know, if I wasn't so sure, I would definitely look up reference for it. But good thing I painted lots of latex boots before. Or I have quite a bit of references, or I use many of this type of reference. Let's go ahead and take this highlight. And then we're going to move on to the other boot. Add some shine towards the bottom. Almost like rim light. Add some shine over here. Let's grab this color right here, and then we're going to add it on the other side of this boot. Okay. Now I just have to blend it in, blend it out. And this program is very good at blending, so this is not taking that much time. If it was Photoshop, definitely would have taken a lot more time just to get this type of result, for sure. Let me go ahead and flip. We can flip it a few times just to see how that's looking. The general lighting is there, just I think the placement for these highlights needs to be worked on a bit more. So I think I will merge down and then basically, for example, this highlight right here, I'm going to copy it and then use the liquify tool just to move it over a bit, which I think looks a little better once it's been moved over a bit. Trying to make it fit basically the rest of the leg highlight. And then I'm going to blend everything in. Let's go ahead and merge down, zoom out, have a look again. We're gonna work on the skin shortly. Let's add some highlight to this glove right here. just so we can have an even amount of rendering throughout the outfit. I'll just add a little bit of it. Okay, now I'm going to work on the skin. So we'll just kind of go through it. I'm going to be using the lasso tool to help me here. In some of these areas, definitely need the lasso tool. Let's get the right amount of coverage here. So I'm looking at the small preview, especially for this part, making sure that what I have in mind is working out for the rest of the picture. So we get this big area of shadow on this part of the leg. I'm adding some rim light to the bottom portion. Now this brush is good for blending latex and that type of stuff, but for skin, sometimes we want some precision, so we will be going with the airbrush. Good old airbrush. It's a little bit more precise, especially when you want to render a certain area without making it look too watercolory. I'm going to use the airbrush for this part of the thigh, and we're just going to make sure to also render in a way to have the thigh be squished in by that red latex boot. Switch to a slightly smaller brush. I'm going to add some of that squish using shadow. Grab a bit of this. And we'll just blend this. Grab this. And we'll just subtly blend the rim light and the shadow together. Grab a bit of this. I'm going to add it underneath this area right here. I think this line art, the line for that side of the hip, needs to go. Sometimes it just doesn't add anything, so I remove the line. And gradually, eventually the lines appear less and less. Even though initially we started with lines, so sometimes you can slowly remove them, but depends if you want to show the lines or if the lines is a bit more important with the style you're going for. Okay, I think we got that part, got that side of the leg. So now let's work our way through to the opposite leg, this side when, where we first started. Okay, I think that looks good. Maybe we need to add some drop down shadow casted from that drape onto the leg. Next up, let's work on the arm a little bit. The arm is fairly good to go, just needs blending. I'm going to use the lasso tool once again to select the side of the arm just to help me clean up some of these areas without touching the leg. So this is good, I think. Back to the torso. And just going to blend this in, making sure I'm putting the appropriate shadow slash highlighting areas to emphasize the squish of her top. Let's go ahead and blend this in. Let's add a little bit of warmth on the shoulder and chest area. Needs more highlight now. Let's go with a slightly brighter highlight. And we'll just kind of blend it in now. I'm going to use a slightly darker shade so that I can emphasize the rim light inside the shadow area. And we'll just blend that in. Grab a bit of this color. I'm adding some of this more purplish, darker shade just to balance out the warmness inside the skin. Let's grab this. We'll continue to blend these together. Alright, I think this part is good. Let's go ahead and emphasize that. Shoulder blade. Emphasize the clavicle. I'll just kind of just follow along this area and basically work on the part that it touches. Let's use the lasso tool to help me make this area a little bit more isolated. So I can do that. And then I want to indicate some drop down shadow from her ornament, hair ornament on top of her shoulder. And we just have to pay attention to those drop down shadow details in order to make this piece look a bit more 3D like. Grab a bit of this color. I'm going to lay it underneath this clavicle shadow part to create a nice rim light. Let me unlock this so I can fill it in, and then grab this part right here. Let's grab a bit of that. emphasize some of the shadow part. So if we zoom out, it's starting to take shape, although I think I'll render out the top and then go back to the clothing so we can work on it together. Sometimes, when we render out one part of the character, another part of the clothing might be redone or retouched up. And yeah, just bit by bit, we're going to render one part and see if the other parts needs to be redone or touched up a little bit. Zoom out. I'm working on the clavicle. Let's add a bit more highlight over here. Okay, let's go back to the suit real quick. So for this side, I'm thinking let's try to use a cooler tone, just maybe like a purple. And then we'll bring a bit of that highlight onto this side gradually. And then blend it onto this side here. I'll bring it all the way up. We'll try to add towards the bottom area here too. So it ends up looking something like this. Let's use this brush. We'll just kind of keep working on it. Let's add like a bit of a highlight here and try to make it a small part of this area. Maybe I can make it look a bit more shiny that way. Let's add some shine highlight on this side. Something like that. We'll zoom out and see how that's looking. Okay, I think that neck is really looking a bit too long. I might have to fix that. Also, I want to test out a bit of a newer highlight source. So let's say I want to select that whole area and see how it would look like if it was a lot brighter. Maybe like this much, maybe? Looks a bit too bright. Maybe that. I'm just going to do this real quick. I'm not going to commit by merging down just yet. Let's copy the other side and then we're going to use edit, tone, color balance, and instead we're going to make it have an undertone of blue/purple. And then with this, we are going to make the undertone yellow maybe? Oh, actually, nope. I'm on the hair for some reason. Color balance, highlight, let's do yellow. Yellow and red. By playing with tones like this, it helps me to explore what options I have. Sometimes when something doesn't quite work out the way I want, I try to, test it out with maybe some color change. Sometimes that might help. Of course, it doesn't always end up working out, so yeah. We gave it a try, at least. You can say you gave it a try. Let's do this. What if I make this whole part bright? Yeah, not a fan. Maybe I'll just keep it like dark. Maybe the darker color is the way to go. Yeah, maybe. Let's grab this color. Actually, yeah, grab this color, this grayed out color. Add it as a rim light. And then as for the highlight, let me redo that. Okay. Let's re-add the highlights. Let's use like a blue highlight and then where can I add it? Let's add it here. And we'll just make it a little subtle, like, not really sure about that placement. Okay, let's let's do this. Let's add the highlight right here. I think this darker shade works better. And then, oh, whoops. Then after I can play around with the contrast a bit more. Let's add some highlight towards the top And then we can also play around with the opacity. Sometimes that can also help. Okay, I think. Let's add a bit of highlight here. After that, merge down. Alright, go back to the skin. The skin is more or less rendered out, I would say second level. So I will just finish up by going over the rest of her skin coverage and just do a rough cleanup, you could say. There. I zoom in a little bit so I can work on the face just ever so slightly. Usually with the face itself, I will kind of paint it. Still aiming for that vampy mysterious theme. I'm gonna try to see if I can hide this side of the face or if that's even a good idea. I'm going to make her lips a bit more pinkish slash red. I'm going to try to paint her face like one of those anime figures, inspired by that type of lighting. So we'll just go about adding some drop down shadow, which is important. And then for the facial features, I'm gonna keep it, at least try to keep it simple. Just like anime figures. Maybe I should grab a reference. I'm going to try to make her eyes look a little bit more like the anime eyes. Needs some more definition slash eyeliner. I'm looking at like a anime figure for her. Okay. I definitely made her eye shape a little bit more sultry for this piece. I might also need to rework the hair to cover her face a bit more, or at least to lower that hairline, because her hair is a bit more closer to her her scalp. I mean, I should say her forehead doesn't get exposed as much as I have it, so I need to lower that hairline a little bit. And I guess this could be nice because it makes it look a little bit more mysterious with her eyes covered up a bit more as well. Using the airbrush, the lasso tool. I'm going to try to make or give her a nice clean neckline. Grab a bit of shine for the tongue. So the idea for this was she would lick off a bit of blood or something like that from her fingers. Although I don't, not sure. I don't normally paint too much blood because I don't know if that's okay to post on social media these days. But yeah, that's the idea. I kind of want to move around the eyes, the eye lines, I mean. Okay, so the face, we worked on that a little bit. Go to the headband now. We can quickly add some shadow to this part. I'm going for a silver texture, so we're going to add some high contrast between the highlight slash shadow, like this. Go back to the hair petals now. I don't normally paint too many flowers, so this might look a little weird. But this is kind of what I remember roughly of when I used to paint roses. Actually not paint, but draw. Flower in general is a pretty interesting thing to draw, and in a way kind of technical because there's a certain pattern that you can use to create flower petals and stuff like that. So yes, let's add some intense highlight. I'm keeping it painterly for now. Sometimes I just want to see if this would create texture that I want. Let's go ahead, add the shadow, cast it from the flower on the hairband. I'm going to keep the hairband white in color. Might need to be a little paler for it to stand out. Okay. Go back to the hair and using the airbrush, trusty airbrush. I'm gonna go ahead and emphasize some of these. Oh, I forgot to lock in the layer. So I'm going to emphasize the highlight area, especially the more intense part. This way I can get some nice contrast results. Of course, using solely airbrush, you get this very messy look, which we're going to fix that slowly. But for now, I'm going to add a few more areas for that highlight. And then I would like to have some highlight on this part of the hair as well. Grab a bit of this. Add some light highlight. some of this area look a little bit too washed out, so we'll intensify or add back some of that contrast. I guess we'll add it to the whole hair part. Ew. Okay, some of this area needs some rim light because it's too dark. So let's go ahead and add a bit of blue towards the top portion. Oh god, it's looking pretty doughy, pretty smoothed out. Or we are going to add that just for now and then go back in and repaint back texture after. Okay. So in general, that's the lighting that I'm going for. It's a rough guide of the color scheme that I'm going for. Let's go back to this part. Copy paste. I want that part to be a bit brighter. A bit brighter and to have a slightly different color balance, color tone. So let's go for more of a blue tone like this. And then darken it. Oof. Okay, that is pretty intense. We might have to lower the opacity. Not opacity, I mean the saturation, which is how colorful it is. Let's do this. And then lower the opacity. There we go. Okay. That's not too bad. I think I just really want to fix that face, but if I just hold my hand and hide the face, I like the rest of her. Okay. Yeah, I think we should go with this. I think it's slowly starting to get there. Hey guys, welcome back. So, I did some work off camera, mainly on adjusting the head. I moved it down quite a bit more. I rendered out the face to an extent I was happy with. But I could show you guys the really quick, so I think this is where we were, and then I spent probably like an hour and a half working on the face to get to the level that we have currently. And I did end up basically cutting the whole head onto its own separate group. So now it's separate from the body, and I can kind of use the liquify tool to move it around, trying to find the best positioning for it. Because, you know, I'm still unsure about whether or not I like how I have it currently. So I might end up moving things around like this until I'm happy with it. And also I basically cut the hair that was here previously and then flipped it onto the other side. And now it no longer has line art either because I merged it down, so now it's just a blob that I'm gonna work with. So yeah, this is where I'm at. Let's, I guess for now, I would like to work on the skin some more, focusing on the torso area because I did end up cutting the head and that displaced a lot of the chest area and the line there too. So there's a lot that I need to render out slash just adjust. So yeah. And this is I guess one of the reasons why I didn't like line art that much is just because it's so hard to adjust. Because if you adjust one part of the line art, you have to kind of go in, adjust the color and then the line separately. But since this program has the liquify tool that allows you to adjust both the lines and the color at the same time, it's a lot easier. Still, it is not as convenient for change as if you basically just painted the character instead of using line art. But I think I am getting better at dealing with a line art. I'm getting used to it, which is good because line art does have its advantages once you are used to it. But yeah, we'll just continue to render out the neck area. I'm trying to see, looking at the small preview, trying to see if I like the rendering that I'm doing. Okay, do a little before and after. I'm going to use a brighter pinkish skin tone to blend this area out. I do want to make sure to really emphasize the clavicle. Grab a bit of this, put it on the chest. I guess we don't see too much of it because it's mostly covered by her hair that's blocking her cleavage view. Which is good because, you know, I can post it onto social media without worrying too much about censoring that part. Okay, let's merge everything down. Then I'm going to select parts of it, mostly the area that's already kind of highlighted. And basically I want to see if I can enhance the brightness of that highlight. So let's go ahead, copy, paste, and then brightness, contrast, and really enhance it. Now, obviously, some of these areas a little too much, so we're going to tone it down. But first I want to adjust it slightly. Alright, I lowered the red tone by dulling the color a bit. Next, I'm going to start erasing parts of it, almost blending it a little bit better in with previous versions. So we can do a little before and after. You can see how much of a increase in contrast that did. But we're going to remove some of it so it's not too much. Merge down after we're done. Then I'm going to use the warp tool because I would like to just fix that shape, fix the shape of this arm right here. And using the liquify tool, I can adjust the shape and basically move both color and line art at the same time by just selecting the layers that I want to move around. Okay. Now that that's done, let's go back. And next I want to adjust her neck, this thing here, the neck wrap. I'm going to move it in a way to better contour the character. Okay, I think that looks good. After that's done, go back into the red suit and re-render. I did do a little bit of work here off camera, but now I have to really go in and re-render some of these areas. Let's grab a highlight and add it directly on top of the clavicle area. And I have to keep in mind to paint it to match the rest of the character, especially the skin tone. Okay, I'm just keeping an eye out. But I think this part mostly is okay. Render this part out, grab a bit of this highlight. I'm going to select the whole group with all the layers, including line art and color, and then using the liquify tool to readjust this area in particular. I want to get a nice cut, nice change of direction from her clavicle, so that I can add a little bit of highlight here, so the strap feels more laid on top of her anatomy. Add some shadow right underneath it. And we'll just continue with that. I think the chest just needs a little bit more highlight. I mean, a bit more of that rib cage indentation. I like doing this part. It's the area of her rib cage and her breast, the crack, the boob crack, basically. Where you see a little bit of that rib cage. Let's grab a bit of this. Wonder if I can do anything to emphasize the squish in her cleavage more. I think that's should be good. Let me create a new layer. I want to add a bit more warmth. Add more warmth and then go in with a cool tone. Let's go ahead and add some shadow near the armpit. Do a little before and after just to see if that did anything. Let's use a highlight. Okay, merge down. Add a little highlight near the arm. This part not gonna be too difficult to do. I'm just going to contour with a bit of shadow and then highlight, or not highlight, but add a little warmth near her elbow area. Grab a bit of blue. Grab a bit more pink. Grab this color. Let's add some more shadow there, and then in here using the lasso tool. I'm adding some warmth into the shadow with this nice pinkish tone that helps with the skin translucency. And then let's add some highlight right here. That clavicle is going to catch a nice amount of lighting. Maybe this bright. And then after that, I'm going to use the blur tool and blur it out a bit. Merge down. Go back to the suit. We'll just basically do render from part to part. So now we're going to tackle the suit. Good thing is that the suit doesn't look like it needs too much editing, because coming back, so this is the next day, coming back for it today, I think that the suit actually looked pretty good how I had it, so I won't be fussing over it too much. Maybe I'll grab a bit of blue and contour the red suit silhouette just to add some environmental color. Okay, let's go back down to the legs. I'm going to create a new layer constraint, clip down. Then we'll use a blue undertone for this side of the boot for now. I just want to test it out. Use the lasso tool to help me keep it clean. So I just want to really quick, using the airbrush, just laying out this rough color combination, which is red and blue, and see how that looks. And this is done on a separate layer. I can always go back. And I like doing some color experiment like this on separate layer, just to see like if I like the color combination. And also the boot shading felt a little bit flat because it is basically one tone, which is red, and I guess I just wanted to see if I can make it look a little better by adding in like a cooler tone to balance out the overall warmness of it. I mean, this is completely optional, and you could even use other colors. It doesn't have to be blue. But it's good to give it a try, you know, we never know unless we give it a try. I can also do a little before and after just to see what kind of effect that did. Okay, maybe I want this part to be darker. Let's go ahead and copy that entire part and basically make it a lot darker like this. I was hoping that I could match the top a bit more, because you see that the crotch area has a pretty much deeper tone, a much darker tone, so wanted to see if I could match it a bit more with the boots portion. I'm going to hop back onto the lasso tool. The lasso tool helps with controlling the border and helps keep the rendering clean while I use the airbrush. And we'll just continue to put little wrinkles and folds and stuff, especially around the knee area. I'm trying to sculpt out that kneecap. Okay, merge down. So, if we do a little before and after, you can really see the difference. And in general, I do think that the blue helps with making this rendering a bit more interesting. So I'll just add a bit of blue on that side too. Of course, we also have to still add in some highlight. So we'll just do that. Grab a bit of that highlight. And I'm just painting the knee on the other boot, make it a bit more prominent. It's lacking color, I'd say. So I'm gonna copy that part. Actually, first copy that whole part, merge down, and then I want to copy this part in particular, maybe this part, copy paste, contrast, and just raise up the contrast. Oh, that is very bright. Okay. I'm going to redo that. So I want this whole part to be brighter and more intense. Like that. Maybe I'll lower it a bit. It does might look a little bit too much. Merge down, do a little before and after once again. Maybe I will redo this part right here. Grab that. Hold on. Trying to figure out a good placement for this highlight. Okay, I think I need to add add a bit of shine on this side. Maybe something like this. Flip it back. And let me test out a few ways of adding in this highlight here. Okay, let's add some highlight on that side. I'm testing out highlight placement and seeing which one looks better. Let's add some rim light. I guess maybe this might work. I'm trying to also apply some of the background color into the latex boot since latex is pretty reflective, so I wanted to see if I can use that. This is what we have. Let's do a little before and after. Well, for the most part, it does look better, but this part, I think I need to kind of cut that highlight a little bit like that. Yes, that looks better. I'm looking at the small preview here, just that helps me with feeling out whether or not the new lighting works or not with the rest of the picture. Let's grab a highlight tone and we'll highlight the bottom-ish portion of the thigh. Merge down, copy, paste. And made it a little darker. Let's use the airbrush once again, and then we'll brush, blend, blend, blend. Ease it in. Do a little before and after. Just basically checking to see whether or not it's making it look better or not, basically. This part I want to darken. Darken that part up. Blend it. Lower opacity. Do a little before and after. Making sure that what I'm doing is making it look better. Alright, let's see about the top of this leg right here. So I'm going to grab the color from the top and we're just going to use it for the top of this leg here. And then we add the highlight. Add a little here and one more dot here. Actually, does that even work? Let me move it around. Trying to find the best looking placement for that highlight. I'm looking at the small preview while I do it. And this is basically, I am praying that my Inkstink will make this work for me. I'm just looking at it and basically aesthetically picking stopping where it looks good. I'm gonna keep working on it until I say, ooh, that's it, that looks good. Okay, let me add a bit more highlight, especially towards the center area. Do a little before and after. It's definitely cleaner, but is it better? Eh. Grab a bit of this. Putting it at the very tip. Oh, actually, I think it's getting there. Okay, yep, it does look, I would say definitely looks better. Although, you know, I wish it would have magically saved this leg right here. I wish it did more, basically. Okay, let me bring up the the shadow inward a bit more and then see if I can paint in some wrinkles. And basically reworking this part. Oh, looks messy. Looks messy up close, but from afar it kind of looks good. Let's move it around a little bit. Okay, I think I'm happy with this placement. Let's merge down, and then I'm going to move the strap. Okay. I think we're going to work on this part next. I'm waiting for it to save. Backup save. Okay. Alright, let's go to this part of the character. And for the highlight for the black fabric, we're going to use something with a warm undertone. Maybe this color. Oh, lock in the layer. So I'm just gonna start adding a bit of highlight. And I'm thinking of keeping the light source towards the bottom. And let's see here. Okay, so something like that. If I zoom out, it looks better. Let's go with this for now. So I'm also going to try to see how it will look if maybe, let's say, the fabric is latexy, so a little shiny. So let me add that highlight real quick to emulate that type of fabric and see how that looks. Mm, maybe some more shiny. And I also need blue. Usually black latex has blue and usually at least blue and a warmer highlight. I mean cooler and warmer highlight. Blue is a good color scheme for black latex. Blue and another color, usually warm. So let's try that out and see if that's gonna do anything for us. Hopefully it's gonna look a little better. I do think it looks better. It does balance out better this way too. It has warm tone and cool tone, so let's flip it. Alright. What is this? Okay. Trying to find where this is. I think it's on the right track, although probably need a bit more rendering and some more just testing out stuff. Not sure why, but I'm not really into what I'm doing right now. Not really liking it so far, and that could just be because the background isn't exactly finished either. There's a lot of things. So, it's hard to explain, but it's like all the area needs to align for you to feel like you're on the right track sometimes. So I'll just I guess I'll just render this part out a bit more and then add a bit of warm tone. I mean red tone. Merge down, and after I have like a basic color going, basic scheme going, I can see what I can do with high contrast and whatnot. Oof, that might be, would that be too much? I mean, I'm just seeing how it would look with a variety of contrasts. Maybe that part could be bright or darker. I think darker looks good. Okay, let's work on the red part now. Maybe that's gonna help us. The red part for sure is going to be latex texture, so we're just gonna render it out and try to match the rest of the character. Rest of the areas in the same fabric. So I am going to color pick from the rest of her outfit, that's red latex, and putting down the highlight and stuff. grab that highlight. Add in certain areas. Okay, after that, I have to tone some of this down and maybe add some more shadow. I'm just going to pay attention to the small preview while I do this, because the small preview is a better indicator of whether or not it's working or not. Oh my gosh. I think I want to increase the intensity here a bit more. Here too. Actually, maybe I need to make it brighter. Do I need to? Not sure actually. I'm looking at the small preview, it's hard to tell. I think I'll have better luck at blending it in once I render out the background a bit more. I'm thinking for the background I could go for like an ornate palace type background, and I'm probably gonna be on the hunt for a nice interior of a palace or something. I'm not really into what I have so far here. Let's make it a little brighter and then add highlight. Add some highlight towards the bottom. Still looking at the small preview. Okay, let's move on to this. I'm not sure. I think I need to work on something else now. Might come back to that part in particular later, but at least it's like a small part that I don't think is that important to get right, unlike the face. Let me grab this color. I think I need those parts to be more intense. Let me flip. Let's go ahead and grab that part. Use the blue highlight. Add a bit of that blue highlight onto the opposite side. Not sure. Not too sure about that part. The colors don't quite blend too well, sadly. I guess I'll figure something out. Hmm. I guess what I could do is brighten. Um, I think I need to probably play around with the flow of the fabric, that, or let's see if we could basically see if it looks better with some more red latex. Extend the red latex. Mm, delete. Maybe I need to also consider the silhouette. Like, yeah, I could remove this part entirely to so that her hip stand out more. 'Cause otherwise it would be swallowed up by the fabric in terms of the silhouette. Mm, and maybe I could extend the red latex more. A bit more. Um, Basically, I find that the silhouette that I have for the drape behind her is very flat and also a bit too straight. So I'm trying to see how I can make the silhouette a little bit more interesting by breaking up the straightness, how like up and down it is. So maybe we can curve it up like this a little bit. This is kind of one of the reasons why I enjoy doing comics so much now, because when I go into the rendering mode, I'm like nitpicking everything. And sometimes I can go a little too far with it. Let's break up the silhouette even more by just moving around the shape. I'm looking and moving around this part. Nope, not feeling it. This part needs to be a bit more angular, I think. Angular like a hard fabric. Yeah, something like that. Let's highlight that part. Ooh, might be a bit too bright. Uh, let's blend this highlight down. I think it's starting to get somewhere. I have to also fix the line art a bit. This part, where did it come from? Okay, here we go. I need to remove that. Yeah, I think it's starting to look better. Oh, whoops. This part, I want it to be wider. Copy, paste. A bit more wider. Let's see. Oh, now it just looks blobby. But yes, I think this is the amount of spread I want for this drape here. It looks really messy. Let's see if we can clean it up just a bit. Merge down. Now the other problem is this side. Now I'm questioning, like, if this little bump here is the right move, because it doesn't flow that well. At least, doesn't really flow that well, and I'm gonna try to figure out if I can salvage it somehow. So, oh, I know. I think what I'll do is I'll create a fanning effect with some added on the silhouette in the side here. Let's see if that works. Ooh, nope, not really into it. Okay, well, in that case, I'm going to move this closer to the leg. So we'll just move this inward more. Well, actually, you know what? Yeah, I think it's going in a better direction. Let me move this inward more. It does make the fabric look more fluid, at least. Okay, let me move this back in. Actually, I think this is good. Now I just have to fix or redo some of this part. Clean up this side. I want to readjust the leg silhouette. Oh, wait. Mm. And let's redo this part. It's a little wonky. Merge down. I'll just clean up the silhouette of the leg. Mm. Delete. Nice and clean. Clean up that side too. Okay. Go back to the suit, the red suit. We'll just keep working on it. There's other parts that needs working on. Highlight this area right on the arm, and then down here into the glove portion of this, the red latex. Let's grab this color right here. Grab some environmental color, which is white. Let's grab this brush, the water color brush, which has a very nice blending capacity, and it's perfect for what I'm trying to do, which is shiny. Let's add some light shine. Okay, let's go with that. Doesn't look that great. We'll just redo that. Once again, let's add the highlight. Darken it. After that, let's add some blue. Oh, add some blue. Add a bit of warmness into the skin, and then tone it down, add the highlight, etc. do a little before and after. I think there's too much red here. Bit too much red also. I need to add some more shadows. Some more shadow, squish shadow. And then let's lower the opacity slightly, merge down, create a new layer. Actually, I should probably do this on the head layer, which is to add drop down shadow from the hair on her chest. So, shadow. Multiply, set to multiply, and let's pick this color for shadow. And we'll just paint in a way to imply drop down shadow from her bangs on her chest part. The shadow might be a bit too dark, needs some warmth to it. That might be a bit too much. Let's lower the opacity a bit. Okay, I think that looks decent. Welcome back, guys. Alright, so I added a different background. So the background was like a interior photo of a palace I found on Google, and basically I rotated it. So the ground is on the ceiling and the ceiling is on the ground because I found that this frames the character better. And sometimes I would kind of rotate the direction of the photo stock to see which direction goes better with the character, even though it's like having the ceiling on the ground and then ceiling on top. So yeah, that was fun. And then I added in a blur filter. So this was the original photo. I added a blur filter through Photoshop, and then I also cleaned up the I guess blood slash red paint splatter to try to frame the character as well. So, and I also adjusted her torso. Um, yeah, because it felt a little bit awkward. So I was playing around with kind of lengthening her chest area, and also did some edit to the face itself, which took a couple of hours. So I decided to bring her direction where she's looking a little bit forward. And other stuff that I worked on was basically having the hand on a completely separate layer. So my hand is now separate. So I have more control in editing it. I was moving a lot of stuff around, so yeah, I ended up kind of just cutting it onto its own separate layer. So yeah, let's continue with that. I have to go ahead and basically re-edit slash re-paint some of these areas. So I'm just using the lasso tool to help me do a quick silhouette slash block in for the hand, for the hand, for the hand. There we go. So we'll just leave it at this really rough looking blocking for now. Okay, other than that, I'm just looking around at what I could possibly work on. Okay, some very obvious things that need to be cleaned up is the hair for sure. So let's get to cleaning up that area. Block it in. Let's grab the highlight. I'll just add some of this brown shade, the highlight color that I've been using on the other area part of her hair, so we're gonna use it on this part as well. You can kind of blend it out using different brushes if you want. I'm sure there are other better brushes for this process right here. So I just wanted to clean that up, and then we will, let's do, let's have a once over. Start off with the torso, and I have to also fill this part in. This is the arm part, the underneath, I mean, yeah, what used to be where the arm used to be, now it's moved, so we need to fill in this gap. Let's go ahead and do that. Brighten it up, give a bit of rim light. Some bright pink tone to highlight the shadow, create a translucent effect. Back to the torso. And we'll just continue to refine this area. I just want to create that rib cage look, followed by the boob crack look. I'm not getting the result that I am looking for though, so I'll just keep trying. I just have a specific look that I have in mind that I'm trying to get. So I'm using the airbrush for this because the watercolor would have been a bit, might have been too blendy. Or maybe I should give it a try. Okay, next I'm gonna copy this part to make it super bright. Use the erase tool, erase a little bit of what I just did. I'm going to look at the small preview, see if that's gonna help me. Sometimes it'll tell me if I'm going about it the right way. Just looking at the small preview can help with your direction. So okay, zoomed out, it looks good or it looks bad. And usually, um, you would, I would recommend paying attention to the small preview more than just painting zoomed in where you only get a close glimpse of what's happening. But what we really need to pay attention is the small thumbnail where it tells you how it looks in general, which is overall more important, especially with more of a fuller illustration. If it was a portrait, then I would understand that close-up is more important. And that's, I've painted both portraits and full-on illustrations. And back when I used to paint, focus on portraits, I would paint at most like waist to just bust shots, and it was definitely more important to focus on the detail than the overall composition. Trying to get that squish look on her chest. Zoom out a little bit. Okay. It's I can feel the squish. I think it could be better though. I think the squish could be better. But at least we are getting that squish feeling. So I go between her skin to the red suit in order to make the squish feel even more so. We have to play with the clothing and then the skin under it. Let's see. And then I zoom in, zoom out to get a better gauge better from the small version, the overall look and the zoomed in look. So I think I will pay attention to that small thumbnail. What is going on? And if the changes I'm making is having a negative effect or positive, or it's not doing much. And usually I'll just I'll call it a win if whatever I'm doing is doing nothing or it's improving the piece. I'll take that as a win. But if it makes the piece look bad, then yeah, that we have to redo that part. Alright, so I went ahead and adjusted the contrast for that part. We'll do a little before and after. Well, it's okay. It's not doing much. Maybe I'll test out by making this whole part shadow. And this part bright. I'm using the lasso tool to help me just isolate a certain area to make things really nice and clean and sharp. Let's blend these two highlights. Actually not too sure if it's working or not. I'm looking at the small preview and so far it doesn't seem to make it any worse. It's not making it that much better either, but hey, I think I'll be okay with keeping it if it's not making it worse. Let's do a little before and after. Okay, let's now focus. Let's try here. Add a bit of shadow. In this part, I need to smooth it out. Looks a little wonky, and that's most likely because I was kind of adjusting it. So I need to rewarp that part. Mm. Oh, nope. Okay, next, let's do this. Using the lasso tool to isolate the opposite side. Which helps me warp. Oh, it's not as clean as I'd hoped for. Let's push this out a little bit. There's some little area that's not filled in. So when you have a lot of layers and you use this tool, it lags. And that's something that can be annoying, but it's better than nothing. It's better than not being able to move layers all at once. Alright, now we are going to move the arm. So bit by bit, I'm gonna drag this arm down. I want to bring down this bump right here. And I'm going to, oh, it's lagging. I'll just wait for it to load, and then we're back to just making this part a little bit wider. Alright, back to the skin. I'll just clean this area up, and also you can see that while using the warp tool, I have displaced some of the coloring, so yeah, gotta clean that up. But in general, we'll just go and fix it. It's not too bad. Grab a bit of highlight. I want to put a bit of highlight on top of her shoulder joint. And then we have the clavicle, and we'll just slowly render that out as well. Let's add some shadow around that area, contouring. Zoom out. Zoom out, and I'm just looking to see if what we did was good for the character or not, or if it needs to be redone. Because sometimes we try to shade it and then it doesn't look that good, so we try another way of shading it. Let's grab a bit of that shadow. We'll add it to the outer edge and then blend it down. Not sure if I like this color. Let's try see how it looks like if the whole arm is in shadow. Looks kind of flat if I do that. Okay, let's do a little before and after. I'm going to grab that part from the old version and pop it on. So we'll have a little bit of highlight. Yeah, maybe something like this. Merge everything down, and I'm going to highlight some of this area. So I'll just copy, especially the shoulder, at the tip of the shoulder, and just make the colors a bit more vibrant. Merge down. We'll gauge again at the small preview to make sure that everything's good. And even when I do this, I still miss certain areas later on after I finish. Let's go ahead now to add some highlight to the top area for the choker-esque color. Add a bit more highlight. I also want to blend this. Using the airbrush now. See, I would like to see if I can contour her chest better. So I'm following along the shadow path of her skin. I'm going to zoom in on my secondary preview and kind of just have a look, judge what's happening, see if it looks better. I want to pull this inward a bit, and I'm going to just take some time and look, see if that looks better or not. Whatever it is, it has to make her chest part look squishy and tightly bound, so I have to make sure that whatever happens, it's improving that fact. I'm gonna do a little before and after to see if that adjustment was good or not. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't always look good, so add some highlight. Let's just do let's do like 50%, which is trying to do like an in-between version because I'm not too sure if I like it or not. I'll just compromise with 50%. Okay, now I'm going to do a quick fix here. She's supposed to be holding a weapon or something like that. It's kind of rough. Let's see, so it goes like this. Let's say it covers that area. Looks like a donut. Not the best looking weapon. And then I'll add quick bit of shadow blocking for it. Then highlight. And then I will attempt to blur it out slash blend it with the watercolor. Still looking kind of bleh, not that great, but it's better than what we had before. Grab some highlight, we'll add back some highlight. Okay, something like that. Okay, now if you zoom in, you'll see it's not filling in the lines properly, so I'll just try to make it fill in those lines as much as I can. Looking messy, but that's okay. Back to the hand layer. Fill that in. Shadow next. I'm going to use the lasso tool to help me with rendering this side of the arm. I just want to get it to match uh, the glove a bit more. Want to see if I can do that. Maybe the arm will look better. Also, this piece of shadow is making things really weird, so I'll just remove that shadow right there. We'll continue to blend this part in. Okay. If I zoom out, I'm just checking to see if, what I'm doing is good or not. And right now the rendering is a little blobby. It's a bit too soft. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to add a bit more shadow to make this look better, more 3D. Add more shadow, especially near this area, to match the red latex glove that I have. And then I'm looking at the small preview. The small preview is important. I'm just looking at it to make sure what I'm doing is making sense. Like, I'm looking at the armpit area in particular. That's important for the area that I'm working on, I mean. Add some highlight there. Add some shadow here, maybe. Oof, not looking that great for placement. Do a little before and after. I think the arm is getting there. Okay, let's go with that. Go back to the red suit. I'm going to add more shadow to this area. add some more highlight. Okay, I think it's starting to get there. This is good. Merge down. After that, I'm going to use the warp tool, and I just want to create some little ridges to emulate the knuckle part of the hand. Actually, I don't know if it looks good or not, because I'm looking at the small preview. It looks a little bit janky, so I might tone it down. I mean, in theory, it appeared pretty good, but after executing the idea, it doesn't look as good as I'd hoped. But it's okay. We can redo it. Okay, I think that looks better. And this line, this highlight line right here is not sitting well with me. Doesn't look too great, in my opinion. We're slowly but surely fixing this part. Let's see how it would look if it was dark all the way. I mean, shaded up all the way without any highlight. Maybe this is the best way to do it. I think so. Let's use a slightly brighter pinky shade as highlight. Go back to the small preview. I'm looking every time I'm adding something to this side of the glove. I'm looking at the smaller preview that I have on my secondary screen, which is helping me basically decide whether or not this is going in a good direction or not. I will wait again, waiting on the program to respond. Okay, add a little bit of highlight here, but how much can I add? Let's add this much. Okay, now that that's done, and for the most part her suit is done. Done rendering, that is. I want to see if I can push the brightness a bit more, or if it's gonna look weird. So I just bring up the brightness, and then we'll try to blend that in. Constrain down to a little before and after to see whether or not the change had a positive effect or not. I mean, I guess I wouldn't mind it, although the placement is throwing me off a bit. Like maybe the shiny part needs to be higher. Bit higher. And then moving the shadow upwards as well. Yeah, I think definitely higher is better, but now not really into. It kind of removed some of the good parts from the previous version by doing this. Let me redo that. Lower, let's merge down. I'm going to drag this bit lower and then bring the high point of the highlight up. I guess it's not that bad. Bring this part up. Zoom out, take a look. Okay, zoom back in. Let's go to the arm now, and we'll just, I guess, not really sure what to do, so I'll just render the rest out, and maybe it's gonna look magically better once everything's a bit more clear. But sometimes that's really all we need, is to clean things up, but sometimes not. So I'll just go in here and just clean up the blending. Add some shadow there. I think maybe I'm going to make it a bit darker. A bit darker, let's use the lasso tool, grab this color, slightly bright, and then we will add it towards the side with highlight. Grab the highlight color from elsewhere, and then we are going to add it onto here somehow. I think I need a bit more volume on this side. Let's select the whole group. I'm going to drag this down, giving more volume to the thumb. I'll just try my best to clean up the arm area. I'm going to move the lines downward to match the red covering for her arm. Let's go to the hand now. I'm going to use the airbrush lock the layer down. I'll just do a bit of rendering for it using airbrush. I'm going to use a slightly darker shade so I can line the placement of the fingers, and then I'll count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, just making sure that she has 5 fingers. And after I lay down the line art, the line guide, I guess it's a better word, and I'll just start blending stuff in. Zoomed in, it's kind of messy, but zoomed out, it looks good. So I won't fuss too much on this fact. Yeah, we'll just do a little bit more and then call it here for this hand here, because this hand isn't really that important. But her face is, so I'll have to work on that face a bit more after. I'm just gonna select the inner arms, fingers, sorry, and just make it a little bit brighter. More of a pinky undertone, which helps with translucent skin effect. Using the airbrush once again, I want to add a bit of warmth to the tip of the finger, the knuckles, and inside the hand, the finger pads, yes. I was trying to find the right words for the part I was trying to describe. But yes, and just in general adding some more warm tone to those areas that tend to have those colors helps with just making the hand look more, actually making fingers look more fleshy and delicate looking. I'm going to color the nails a dark red. But other than that, I think my fingers are good to go. A little bit blobby, zoomed in. Oh. Okay, there we go. What is this part? Why is it? There's a weird thing here. Okay, that's why. The mask was covering parts of the thumb, so it was a little squiggly. Now that that's done, we'll move back to the face and see what we have. There's a lot to clean up because I have cut a lot of layers, and then there's some editing going on that makes things messy. Let me go ahead and add this to the hair. Loading. What I'll do is I'll have this part of the hair under the face layer. Lock into face layer, airbrush. I'm going to do some editing first. Go back to the hair layer. Readjust. Clean up, readjust, clean up. There's a lot to clean. And fixing the flow of the hair too, because this part is kind of going into nowhere, so we have to add a bit more volume here. Other than that, we'll just keep rendering out the hair more and fixing it at the same time. Trying to fix the flow of the hair we have. And I want to figure out what is this empty spot here. I have to find, locate, and then fix it up. Let's move the hair around. let's go to the hairband. The hairband needs work for sure. Fixing up the placement of the red. Let's use the lasso, the airbrush. Airbrush out this part. And then maybe render out this metallic bit. Go back to the flower and see what I can do. Also the lines, I might lower the appearance of the lines. Where it is? There it is. This is where the lines is. I'm going to fill the lines in with more of a reddish tone so the lines doesn't appear too prominent. Go back to the headband. From there, I'm going to render out the flower more, and I'm using lasso tool and the airbrush for this phase. I'm gonna keep it clean by doing this. I'm going petal by petal to add some shadow and smooth it out basically. Oh, wrong brush. And I'll look at the small preview as well while doing this. Zoomed in, I don't even know, is this even good? It's not that great because I don't have that much practice with flowers. So I am literally just doing what I think might produce the effect I want. Going petal by petal, hoping that magic could happen towards the end. I have a basic idea of how to draw roses and shading it. But because I don't do this very often, this is probably not as good as someone who's used to drawing flowers. We'll try our best though. But at least the flower isn't really like the main focus of this piece. It's okay. It's okay not to make everything perfect. Well, I do have an issue with that. When I still did more Photoshop work, I was more of a perfectionist. And for something like this, I probably would have just grabbed a photo for it and paint over it. But now, I'll try to be less picky and just do my best. It's not too bad. After that, I'm going to go back in once again, intensify the flower, merge down. And I'll fix the surrounding area, which is the metallic part, the metallic pole part. Grab some highlight, bring it down. It's a bit cleaner. And I'm looking at the small preview and it does come across as like a silver metallic texture, so that's good. Let's go back, fix some of these areas. I'm going to start incorporating a bit of cooler tone into this flower, hoping that would add a little extra balance to the piece in general. Need a bit more shadow in some of these areas. So I'll just go back with the lasso tool. And I just want to see if I can separate out these petals more. Ugh. I don't think I can make it better than this. Although, not really happy with how this looks. Maybe one more petal here. Should be okay. It won't be the focus, so I should stop worrying about it. Okay. Let's move on to her face. So her ear needs some work done. I need to also remove the prominence of her ear line. I guess I could just merge it down completely. I'm going to clean up the face. Trying to make her face a bit better. Let's see if we can play around with that, her eyebrows. Play with eyebrows and then play with the placement of the pupils. Yeah, not really happy with how the face looks. Nope, not that way. Let's try another way for the eyebrows. At this point, I'm just moving around the eyebrows. Trying to see if I can get like an interesting look. I want her to look more at the audience, so I want her eyes to also have more of a sultry look, so we have to bring down the lash line more. Maybe give her a little smirk. Maybe. We'll see. We need to experiment with the eye positioning, so let's have her look up a bit more. So really quickly, I'm going to make that happen, and we'll go from there. Well, she does have more of a sultry look, but the placement for the eyes is questionable. Not that great. So when that happens, I go back to the original version, copy it, and then basically overlay that, lower the opacity, and we will just move the old version and use it as a texture basically. Oh, okay, I think maybe something like this. The eyebrows look too sharp. I want to make it a bit softer and more blended into her face. Probably also need to adjust the size of the eyes and see if I can make her eyes a bit bigger. Make her eyes bigger to have more of a feminine look. Nope. Let's bring this eye down. I'm going to take the old version of the eyes, put it on the new version, bring it up. Okay, so this eye is getting somewhere. Let's see. Let's see if some lashes could save this eye. Doesn't look like it can. I need to work on the shape. Maybe we also need to move the brow or something. I'm going to play around with the placement for the lips. This might be a bit too clean cut for her lip line. Let's go ahead, darken that part. Okay, I'm going to take this eye and we'll just put it on the other side. Make it maybe a little bit darker. And then I'm gonna see if I can improve the the shape of the eyes so it looks better on her face. Add some lashes onto the other side. Airbrush time. Airbrush a bit of eyeshadow. Let's go ahead, grab a bit of blue, add it inside the eye in general. Before, after. I don't know. Not really convinced. I think maybe half and half might work. So maybe like 50% of the old / new version of the eyes. Let's add a bit more angle for the eye. Nope, that's too big. Too big. So I'll just copy the old version, pop it onto the new, lower the opacity, warp it in place as a texture, merge down, time to flip. Okay, and I'm just going to think about it. Well, we could always try to move the face down a bit. By doing this, doesn't look that great. Well, usually I try to do this just to make the face look a bit more anime, like having a bigger forehead and a smaller chin. But in this case, I'm not really liking how that look. I'm going to move her face around. Back to the eyes. Mm. Trying to still figure out a placement for the eyebrows. Okay, let me use the airbrush. Let me see if I can blend this face in between of anime face with a bit of realism to it. grab a bit of pink. Add some highlight on the chin. Grab a bit of blue. And it's gonna be placed inside the shaded part. Let me zoom out and do that. Before or after? Okay. I think we need like an in-between version again because the cheek looked better before, so without the blending, I mean it's not exactly blended very well, but the cheek before was better. Hmm. Let's remove some of the eyebrows. So this is like a slight edit, but not too much. Okay, I think I'll go with that. Yeah, I think it's getting there. Maybe let's make her cheek a bit more exposed. Have more exposure like this, and then darken her eyes more to make them more mysterious looking, enhancing the contrast. Looks a little bit too much, but let's try it out. Zoom out. I mean, zoomed out, it does have that mysterious vibe that I was initially going for. So this is before, after. I'm still undecided. I think, yeah, let's go with this. Maybe just make her eyebrows a little bit thicker. Before, after. Before, after. Let me see. I'm just going to extend her chin a bit. Before, after. This is a very subtle change, but sometimes subtle is all you need. Alright, I think I'm gonna roll with this for now, and hopefully it turns out good. I'm going to be working on the rest of her now and finalize this piece. So yeah, I hope you guys were okay watching me struggle with this piece. It's a little bit of a challenge because I'm so used to doing like the more straightforward composition, but this one has a bit more of an angle and foreshortening, so it was definitely a challenge. Let's do a quick speed paint view of this, which is really cool. I like that about this program that allows you to record a quick time lapse. So yeah, this is what we had to go through. The neck was definitely way too long, so I had to adjust it. And then I guess the face was really at a challenging angle, so it was kind of tricky to for me to get right. And then from there on, we played around with the face, and this is the final version. Well, at least we'll stop here. I'll probably be working on this a bit more. Maybe I'll make the head a bit smaller. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next voiceover. Have a great day or night, guys. Bye.